Hey guys, this is Aegis, and this is the 5th game of the American Pro League Season 1 Grand Finals between NrG and Infinity 7. NrG's Steve is spawning over here as the yellow Zerg player, and on the other side we have Infinity 7's Barbecue Plux as the pink Protoss player. That's a very interesting name. Unfortunately, I don't have any barbecue for him as of this moment. Maybe he'll be able to barbecue some drones up for himself with those Colossus later on. And this map is going to be GSL's Terminus SE. It has a very easily defensible second base and a very quick third base that you can take with the risk of these destructible debris over here. It also denies Protoss players from being able to turtle really hard off of 3 bases. Zerg player over here doing a extractor trick, and they are spawning cross positions, so we may be seeing them go for a very long macro game. This map is very big. There's 4 Xel'Naga towers in the center, and a drone probe is actually scouting right now to find out where exactly the Zerg player is. Looks like the drone and the probe will be high-fiving over here in just a second, and the probe and the drone will soon scout the opponent's bases. And we'll see if NrG's Steve decides to go for that fast expansion. He's got a drone headed out there right now. He is racking up to 300 minerals, and there goes the expansion coming up right now for NrG's Steve. And on the other side, Barbecue Plux is going to be going for his gateway at the front of his ramp. Should be seeing a cyber core to seal this off in just a second. He's leaving just a little gap for that zealot. Drone is headed in here, and the gateway is about finished. Probe is headed to the front to throw down that cyber core, and there comes the drone. He's actually going to try to block that cyber core. Looks like BBQ Plux is wanting to throw that down as quickly as possible. He's got a gap over here, and a huge... This ramp is not walled off at all, and if Steve decided to go for any sort of Zergling aggression, this could be a very easily busted ramp over here. Natural expansion is on the way, however, and the spawning pool is only now finishing up. Should see a gas grab real soon to be able to throw down that Zergling speed in a reasonable time. Queens should be on the way in just a second. Looks like we've got a drone transfer as well. Zella is on the way for our Protoss player. Chrono boosting that right now, and the Warp Gate research is on the way for our Protoss players. Zella will be chasing this drone around, and he's got the second gas up and running, so he may be going for that sentry expansion. Sentry now on the way from that gateway. No gas yet from NrG Steve, just making tons of drones. Let's take a look at the units. Have 20 drones right now, 22 probes of our Protoss player. More drones coming down, and the gas being started. Queen's now popping out, should be able to do some vomiting to be able to get that extra larva influx. And it does look like our Protoss player is going for a 1-gate expand. He's not afraid of that Zergling run-by at all. He's just got 2 sentries over here, and a Zealot going to be advancing here. 2 Zerglings spotting for that. Probe is going to be retreating back up the ramp to continue mining in the main base. Natural expansion is about 20% complete right now, and the creep spread is beginning over here for NrG's Steve. Another queen is on the way at the natural expansion. It looks like he's going to be grabbing a very fast third base. 2 additional gateways on the way for Barbecue Plux in the front of his base. Going to be walling this off a little bit. Zergling is scouting around here. Does see the 2 gateways and the few sentries up at the front. He knows that this is going a very fast nexus. Knows that there's probably only 1 gateway inside of BBQ Plux's base. Third base is third complete for NrG Steve. Still no additional gas Zergling speed. Only now getting started. Evolution chamber on the way for our Zerg player. Creep spread is moving out across the map, going to be headed towards that possible 4th base of our Zerg player. Forge now coming up for BBQ Plux. Second creep tumor getting laid down by NrG Steve. Going to continue that creep spread as quickly as possible. Queen now making her way over to the third base. Going to be able to do some larva injects in just a moment. Forge is in the main, almost finished. Still no other tech as of the moment. Chrono Boost going down on the probes, trying to keep up with the Zerg player. And the melee attacks level 1 on the way for our Zerg player, as well as the Zergling metabolic boost at about 66% complete. 20 Zerglings getting produced right now, so he's looking to put on some pressure. There's only a couple of sentries right now, and it looks like BBQ Plox is moving out across the map. The Zerglings could easily run by and do tons of damage, or maybe even catch this army out of position and do a lot of damage to that as well. The Zerglings are now crossing the map right now. A bunch of Zerglings rallying to the front. The Zergling speed is about to finish up, and they're headed towards this watchtower. Will they get there in time? And it looks like those Zerglings have their speed finished. They are going to be advancing over here. The sentry's not in a very good position. One sentry over there completely out of position. Force field's going down, but it looks like these Zerglings may still be able to get in here and do some damage. Looks like the force fields were good enough to prevent those Zerglings from getting the perfect surround, but as soon as those force fields expire, he may be able to pick off a bunch of sentries here. Very tense position for our Protoss player. He's got nothing here at home. He's just got one sentry and a couple of zealots now warping in, an additional sentry. The double gas getting taken at the natural expansion. Looks like the sentry's trying to return home. The Zerglings making their way in here. Force field's going down. Not quite enough. The Zerglings from the backside also getting us around. A couple of sentries caught outside as well. As soon as those force fields expire, though, it's just not going to be enough to hold off the Zergling swarm. And he's down to just 5 sentries out here. He had, I think, 8. And here comes the last confrontation. Those sentries are definitely going down, tickling those Zerglings away, not able to throw down enough force fields to be able to block those sentries off. Even the Stalker getting picked off those, looks like I'm getting a message. I'm going to have to busy for just a second. Got here, the Zergling's going to take a break at the Xel'Naga Watchtower. Forge now chrono boosting the ground weapons level 1 for our Protoss player. Additional robotics facility on the way. Additional gateways in the main as well. Looks like we have the Spire now on the way for our Zerg player. Still no 4th base as of this moment, although that would be an extremely fast 4th base if he had gone for that. Looks like we have 61 drones to the 53 probes. Overseer now morphing. 64 drones now. 34 Zerglings out in the field as well. 5 drones in the production queue. So he's going for that massive economy. Going to be able to do some 300 food pushes here. Overseer going to be checking in here. It does see the robotics facility producing that observer. The +1 is halfway complete. Zerglings poking in the front, distracting while the Overseer gets a good look of exactly what's going on. May be able to get that Overseer out of here in just a second. Looks like the 3rd base is trying to get taken over here from our Protoss players. This is a pretty fast 3rd, and the Zerglings are going to be working down those back rocks over there, and once those are broken down, it's going to be so hard for this army to defend both this gap over here and this wide open entrance. It's a huge ramp over here, and the 4th base is now on the way for NrG's Steve. 7 Mutalisks in the production queue, as well as the +1 air attack and the glial reconstitution for the roaches. So he's going for every single tech pattern out there. Twilight Council on the way for our Protoss player. Weapons level 1 now finishing up, and it looks like those back rocks have been destroyed. The Zerglings poking in here may be able to swing around the backside and do some damage over there as well. He's just keeping the Protoss player on his toes. It's going to be 127 food to the 105 food of our Protoss player as of this moment. 4 more Mutalisks in the production queue. Drones now transferring over to that 4th base. Muta's now going to be advancing forward. Extended Thermal Lance and Colossus in the production queue, but it looks like a Contaminate going down, preventing that Colossus from getting produced. And here come the Mutalisks. We'll see how much damage they're able to do. Maybe pick off a couple of pylons here or there. And there's that cannon over there. I don't know if he wants to actually engage that. He's going to lose a Muta to that cannon, and the Stalkers reinforcing over here will be forcing those Mutas out of here. The cannon, it does get 1 kill. The Muta's going to be trying to poke in here once again. The Zerglings massing up in the front. Perhaps use that to distract the 3rd or the natural expansion while the Mutas attack the front. NrG's Steve is now supply blocked at 136 food, and he's banking 1,700 minerals. We'll see if he's able to continue pushing in here. Additional cannons coming up, going to be reinforcing that third, making sure that our Zerg player cannot break that down. A fifth base is on the way for NrG's Steve. Blink is being researched, and the +2 ground weapons on the way for our Protoss player. However, we have the Ventral Sacks for the Overlords, as well as Zerg Flyer attacks level 1 finishing up, missile attacks, and pneumatized Carapace. Gonna get some Speed Lords out onto the field in just a second. Muta's gonna be poking in here, sees too many cannons, gonna quickly back out of here, and a couple more Mutas joining this flock. It's going to be a pretty large flock in just a second. 13 Mutas, now 12. Going to be losing a couple of Mutas over here. The Guardian Shield going down, trying to protect those cannons and the probes as well. The Mutas trying to swing around the backside, perhaps do some damage to the natural expansion. There's a couple of Stalkers and a cannon in position. The fifth base is now finishing up. Going to be able to get some additional drone saturation over there. Templar Archives on the way for our Protoss player, wanting to throw some storms down on that Muta Cloud to prevent it from doing all that much damage. And possibly even to wipe out that Muta Cloud so he can push out about the map. 170 food for our Zerg player. Banelings now being morphed, perhaps going to see a massive Zergling Baneling drop into the main of our Protoss player. Storm is about a third complete. Ventral Sacks finishing up, and the Zerg Flyer attacks level 2 on the way. Overseer checking for that fourth base as well. Our Zerg player has complete map control and nearly 3,000 minerals inside the bank. He can easily take expansions all across the map and just rally those soldiers forth and be able to wipe out our Protoss player very easily. BBQ Flux hanging out at 155 food, and it looks like the Mutas coming in here going to be taking out the Cyber Core. And it looks like the Cyber Core Essential building there going down, even taking down a building, depowering the Forge and the Warp Gates over here. The Muta Cloud is standing strong at nearly 24 of the Stalkers blinking in here. The Mutas are going to be engaging those Stalkers directly, even taking down a Colossus over there. Looks like the Stalker count is just not enough. A Storm going down, very nice Storm. Going to be taking down the Muta's health, but the Mutas here still continuing to wreak havoc. Going to be taking down this Colossus. Oh my goodness. ABQ Plox's army is just getting whittled down as those Mutas continue to poke in. I wouldn't even mind those Zerglings running in the front trying to do some damage over here. BBQ Plox throwing down a bunch of pylons. His macro is being distracted over here, and the main expansion is running very dry. And over here, still no hive as of the moment, but it looks like he may be headed for that in just a moment. His natural expansion and his main are running dry, but he does have 3 additional bases mining. Looks like we have got a ton of Zerglings and Banelings loaded up into 5 Overlords. They will be headed towards that main base of our Protoss player, perhaps taking out more pylons and doing additional damage to the production facilities. More photon cannons coming up to guard those double upgrades, and here comes the drop straight into the main. The Zerglings getting unloaded, and the Baneling is going to be falling out in just a second as well. Storm going down, going to be able to damage the Zerglings severely as they come out. The Banelings here taking out a couple of Templar, also doing some damage to those Stalkers. Looks like the Overlords will be able to get out of here quite safely. And our Protoss player is going to sustain some damage at the third base as well. The Zerglings and the Mutas running in here, just killing off all of the cannons, and the Mutas going to town on those probes. Going to be wiping out the probe count. A couple more cannons in the back, going to be denying those Mutas the chance to do as much damage as they would like. But the Mutas can probably directly engage this army. There's just not that many Stalkers, but it looks like the Mutas will be forced out of here. Steve going to be backing up at 146 food with nearly 6,000 minerals in the bank. Going to be falling down right now as he tries to remax. 54 Zerglings in production, as well as the Burrow. Ground Carapace level 2 and the melee attacks level 2. 3 more Templar getting warped in right now. Tons of spine crawlers at the front going to be protecting this 5th base. The main base got a bunch of drones still mining over here, but should be transferring them real soon. The natural expansion is completely dried out, as is the 3rd, so another base is coming up. This is the 6th base for our Zerg player. And macro hatches also over here at the 3rd base, going to be double vomiting over here. The Overlord's getting loaded up. Tons of Zerglings going to be headed out again. The weapons level 3 finishing up for our Protoss player. And here comes the Mutas and the Zerglings going to be headed towards the Protoss main. +1 armor just finished up, and the Templar Archives here does have the storm researched. The probe sitting idle in the main, and a lot of probes oversaturating both the natural and the third. Looking at the units tab, it is 72 probes to the 66 drones of our Zerg player. So that means Steve's army is just much larger, and here comes the drop into the main. Zerglings getting unloaded, storms going off, and those Zerglings are going to get completely obliterated. Still dropping those Zerglings off here, going to be trying to do as much damage as possible, but those storms were excellent to keep those Zealots and cannons alive very easily. Looks like that was completely killed off. Here comes the Muta Cloud, going to be trying to do some damage over here. Looks like they're just going to take a break. Now the Hive being morphed at the natural expansion of NrG. Steve going to be cleaning up those cannons, possibly do some damage to the probes in gas as well. And 4,000 minerals in the bank for our Zerg player. Going to be cleaning up the Templar Archives as well. No more Templar for you. The Stalkers coming in here trying to go chase after those Mutas. Looks like a couple units will get taken out, but the Mutas will safely retreat. 7th base on the way for our Zerg player over here in this top corner, and perhaps looking to take some bases down here in the near future as well. And here comes the 4th base on the way for our Protoss player. Storm going down, very nice storms on the entire Muta ball. Going to be bringing all of their health down to, looks like storming his own Zealots there. But it looks like the 4th base will get cancelled. The Muta's trying to come in here and do some additional damage, but the Templar are doing a great job of holding them at bay. Banelings getting morphed right now. Mutas are going to go into another engagement. A ton of Mutas getting taken out. Every single Muta is in the yellow health right now, except for one. Our Zerg player rallying the Banelings in, transferring the drones out. The natural expansion and the Spire is currently morphing into a greater Spire. The top 2 expansions here, not quite mining yet, but as soon as he gets that going, he'll just have that gigantic economy, just rallying troops in. And here comes a couple of Overlords getting taken out. The Protoss army is max, so Steve needs to trade armies with this as soon as possible. Making 32 Zerglings right now. More Banelings on the way. Adrenal Gland's going to give that 20% boost to those Zerglings. Going to make those Zerglings so powerful. Ground Carapace level 3 finishing up real soon, as well as the missile attacks for the Mutas, I think. Here come the Banelings. And there are a ton of Banelings loaded up into those Overlords as well. If he drops those on this army, it will get devastated. The Banelings coming in here. Storms going off. And it looks like all of those Banelings will get completely toasted, and BBQ Plox is getting his barbecue today with those 2 Colossus. Let's take a look at how many kills they have. Looks like 10 kills on this guy and 11 kills on the other. Here comes the Mutas in here again, going to be trying to snipe off that Nexus. Looks like Blink forth with the Stalkers will prevent those Mutas from doing so. Corruptors now on the way, going to be going for those Broodlords, but here comes the Protoss army. They're going to be running straight into those Spine Crawlers. I'm going to delay that drop. Looks like the Banelings over here going to be advancing forward, going to be dropping off on this Protoss army. Banelings falling out, all of the units going down. Just a few Zealots left over. The Mutas cleaning up. GG from BBQ Plox, and this game goes to NrG. Going to be sending this to the 6th game, almost getting knocked out over there. It is currently at 3-2. We're going to see if NrG is going to be able to finish this off in the or actually we're going to see if Infinity 7 is going to be able to finish this off in the next game, or if NrG is going to be able to bring it back and take it to a game 7.